Hi everybody, this is Oksana, and today we're going to be making this really fun star pendant. If this design looks a little bit familiar, I did make a video a couple years ago using an oval stone, and I think I called it an octopus pendant just because the way that this looked. It was a little bit different, but it had the same kind of top to it. And I decided to alter this design to make it work for a star shape, and in the process of doing it, it actually worked out to be double-sided. So this is a double-sided star pendant, and it only uses 20 gauge round wire. There's no other type of wire, just 20 gauge round. So I'm really excited about this design. I think it's going to be great for beginners, and it's going to be great because 20 gauge round wire is really accessible and sold in most craft stores. So I hope that you enjoy this video. Let's get started. The wire I'm going to be using in this video is 20 gauge round copper wire. I get mine from riogrande.com. But round wire is pretty easy to find in craft stores, and 20 gauge is a pretty popular gauge, so you can definitely find a smaller quantity of it if needed. And I'm starting out with 2 pieces of that wire. It's the only type of wire I'm going to be using in this video. And the 2 pieces are, let's just say 11 inches. They're probably more like 10.5. Let's just round up. And I'm going to be using a star. Looks like this. It's blue goldstone. I don't know if you can see the little shimmers. There we go. And let me measure the star. If I just kind of measure it this way, it's about an inch. I would say it's about an inch in size. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab these 2 wires roughly in the middle. And we are going to bend them, but try to keep them like this side by side. So don't have it like one on top of each other this way. Try to keep it like this where you can see both of the wires. And we're just gonna go ahead and keep bending them. What I like to do is just pinch them here to kind of keep them flat that way, side by side. And once you get to this point, they're going to start to crisscross, as you can see there. And you can kind of pull on that a little bit more. And ultimately, you're going to make a little loop that looks like this. And if I measure it, it's about 1/2 an inch tall, this little loop. So once you get to this point, what you want to do is kind of hold it tightly here, and one side is on top of the other, right? So we're going to take the side that's on top, and we're going to bend it, and we're going to have it go underneath the other side. So it was on top, but now it's going under. And then this side that was under, we're going to kind of bend it this way, and now it's going to be on top. I think if I just bend this a little bit to the side, there we go. That looks symmetrical. But that's what it would look like, and here's what it looks like if I hold it on top of my star like this. So what you want to do is you want to place it like this. You want the majority of this loop to be visible here at the top, to have, you know, the space. You don't want it to be kind of covered up by the star like this or something, because we're gonna have to attach our bail through there. So just kind of have it like this. And these wires, if you separate them out, there's gonna be a top wire and a bottom wire. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hold this nice and centered on top of our star, and we're going to take the top wires and see how they're basically right here at this little point in the star, this little gap on both sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend them on both sides just right into this spot of the star. So just bend it from front to back, just like this. And now we're going to flip it over to the back. And here we are in the back. And what you want to do with them is you want them to go through this loop. So we're going to feed them through the loop, but we're also pushing down on them. So it's going up against your star. Now we're going to do the other one. So I just have to bend it a little bit so that I can feed it through the loop. Pull it through the loop, and then I just kind of press it down against the back of my star. And here we want one of them to be on one side of this little point here, and the other one to be on the other side, like this. And you also want to make sure they kind of look symmetrical looking at them like this. You don't want one of them to be, you know, much lower down, because this is going to be a reversible pendant. So even though I'm referring to this as the back, theoretically this could be the front, so you want it to look all nice and symmetrical. So now we're going to flip it over, and what we're going to do with these wires is we're going to bend them around like that. And then this next one, bend it around as well. So here's what that looks like from the back and the front. And what we're going to do now is we're going to trim those. So with my wire cutters, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to leave myself a little end like this, and I'm going to trim them. Just like that. And what that little end is for is we're actually gonna push it down. So we're gonna take it with our pliers, we're gonna kind of curve it in this direction, and then we're gonna close up that little loop. And by doing that, we've connected it. We've connected this wire, and then here's my other wire. So I'm just gonna do the same thing, just gonna kind of turn it inwards in there, and then just press down on it. Okay, so both of my wire ends are now over there, and here is what my star looks like. Now, if we flip it back over, what we want to do here is we're going to come in with our pliers, and we're going to grab this wire kind of roughly in the middle of the wire. We're going to put an angular bend like this, and then trying to keep it symmetrical and do a similar angular bend on the other side. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to press down on this little area just so it doesn't move out of place, taking note which wire is on top and which wire is on bottom here. So this wire is on top, so I'm going to make kind of a gentle curve in it, but I want it to be going on the bottom this time, and then this wire was on the bottom, and I'm going to kind of curve it this way so it's on top. And I'm kind of curving it a little more because I want there to be a little gap here. Like last time, they just touched each other and it was tight like this, but this time I'm trying to make a little gap because I just like the look of it. You don't have to do that. So now we're going to press down on that so it doesn't move out of place, and we're going to do it again. This time it doesn't really matter about the gap because it's not going to be very visible because it's just going to be going here on the very bottom. So here's what that looks like. And now I'm just going to hold that still again, and I'm actually just going to twist this like this. Okay, and now I'm going to bend it right into that gap. So here is our star, and if you need to mess around with anything, like I'm just going to make this a little more even. There we go. Perfect. So now we're on the back and we have these two wires here coming out the bottom, and here's what we're going to do. So we're going to kind of lay them flat against the back of our star, and you want them to go where these little angles are that you have bent. Just kind of hold them there. And you want to give yourself a little bit of space. It's better to cut this wire longer and then need to trim it a little bit later than to cut it too short right now and then have it not be enough wire. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it a little longer, like this. Nice long end. Right? This is too long, but we'll trim it after. Same thing here. Just like this. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to take these little wires and we're going to just kind of push them back, because we had pushed them flat against the stone, but now we're just going to raise them back up just a little bit here. Just kind of push them down. Okay. So that we can get in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab this little angle and we're going to pull on it with our pliers, and that's going to lift it from the stone and it's going to form a gap. Do you see that gap there that was formed? So I'm going to do that on this side as well. Just gently pull it up, not too much, but it's just going to form a gap. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take these, you can do it with your fingers or your pliers, and we're just going to guide it underneath, just like this, on both sides, just right underneath. And there's a little bend that formed from me having to do that, so I'm just going to try and kind of flatten them out now, straighten them out with my pliers. Okay, you can press on these as well, the ones that we raised to make the gap. You can just kind of push them down, and then here is what that looks like. So at this point you would adjust anything that is not symmetrical looking, like if it moved out of the way. We would look at this side as well, making sure nothing here moved. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this little wire end and we're going to bend it forward like this, and we're going to do that on both sides. Just bend it all the way down. The only thing is I want it to be right in the little angular bend there, so I might have to adjust my little angular bend to be a little lower so that this sits right in there. There we go. And then you can see this is too long of a wire, because all we want to do now is just have a tiny little wire end that we push down. So I cut it. Again, I'm just going to move it here so it's just right in that angle. And then I'm just going to push, I'm going to push down on it because it's like a little loop, and I want to close that loop. And then just press on it really tight, close it tight, because that's going to make sure it doesn't slide and it stays in this spot. We're just going to do the same thing here on this side. Just leave yourself a little wire end. See, it has moved down. It's no longer at that little angle, so I'm just going to put it back. I'm going to grab it, push it down, kind of close in that loop, and then just really press down on it so it's super well connected and it doesn't move. And then just press down on these as well, because we had raised them up, so just in case they're raised. They are going to be the teeniest bit raised because this wire is going under them, so there's only like so much down that they can be pushed. But if they're too much, you can press them down. And then this bit here got a little bit messed up, as you can see, so I'm just gonna press down on it with my pliers, straighten it back up, just like that. So here is the back, or one side, and here is the other side. So all we have to do now is just make our bail. For our bail, I'm gonna grab one of these scrap wires that I had to cut earlier, and it's about 2 inches long, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab roughly half of it. It's okay if it's not perfect half, we're gonna fix it later. And I am going to just bend it like this, and then I'm gonna tighten up that bend and make it just really, really flat. Like this. I'm just running it through my fingers because I'm trying to get it to be straight, and also I'm trying to get these wires to just be nice and together like this. So here's what we've made. And now you just want to grab something like bail making pliers or round nose pliers work for this too, because you just have to make like a little loop. So I like using these because they have different sizes. I'm going to use this size right here. It's the 3rd size, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just get bigger and bigger. So I'm doing the 3rd largest size for my bail, just grabbing it and curving it. Again, you can even do this like around a pencil or something. You don't need a special tool, but we just want to make a loop like this, and that's going to be our bail. And then these little uneven ends, we're just gonna trim them up like this. And now we're gonna take the smallest bit. So if you just have round nose pliers, you can just bend on a smaller size of them. And we're gonna curve like this. So it looks like a figure 8. And you just want to open this up just a little bit so that we can slide our pendant onto it. So we're going to take our pendant, slide it on, and now we can go ahead, and I like to just do one side at a time, one wire end at a time, close it up like this, come here on the other side, and close up the other side. And then see, there's a teeny gap right there, so you can just press down on that as well to get rid of that little gap. Alright, so now I just put a cord necklace through that bail. This is how the bail looks when it's attached. And we have this side of the star, which is kind of more fancy, kind of curvy lines. And then we have this side of the star, which is just kind of more plain, straight lines. But I think they both look cool. And I think that this pendant can definitely be worn either way. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.